That's the change. We kind of did that about, I don't know, a year ago or whatever when Mark.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is the September 23rd, 2019 Westminster City Council meeting. At this time, as always, there are flags in both the front and back of the room, depending on where you're sitting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Parker or Ms. Fitch, whichever.
I'll take it this time, Mayor.
All right, good.
We might switch it up later, though. Atchison.
Here.
DeMont.
Here.
Haney. Here. Mankey. Here. Seitz.
Here.
Scully. Here. Bowles.
Here. Members of council, you have before you the minutes of the September 9th and the September 10th meeting. At this time, I will entertain a motion for the meeting. Mr. DeMont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the City Council approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 9th and September 10th, 2019 as presented.
Mr. Bowles.
I second the motion.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Next item, ladies and gentlemen, this may take a little bit. We're going to try to give away some money. So if you didn't get a lottery ticket, I'm sorry. Giles?
Yep.
I just want this. Okay, I'll let you have that. So tonight we're here to honor Reed Giles, who is an officer who has reached 25 years of service with the city. Not only will we give him a nice plaque and a pin, in a few minutes he gets a little something to take home for spending money. But don't tell anybody else. Reed Giles was hired as a police officer in September of 1994. He is currently senior police officer in the patrol division in the police department. He's held a number of assignments in the department to include detective, firearms instructor, field training instructor, technology and iLeads implementation team manager, and a short stint as a sniper on the SWAT team. Reed is also an Army Reserve officer and has been mobilized and deployed overseas a number of times in the last 31 years in support of operations and partner nation support. Reed enjoys hiking and camping as well as road trips and traveling around the world. He has 5 children and 6 grandchildren. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your service. Edna Hendershot. Congratulations. Let you wait for the big one. So Edna Hendershot has been employed for 25 years as a City of Westminster police officer. Currently, she holds the rank of commander and is assigned to the patrol division. Prior to her transfer to patrol, Edna spent time supervising detectives in the investigation division and was also responsible for the crime laboratory. Commander Hendershot has spent 14 years working as a detective, assigned for 7 years in the Crimes Against Persons unit, where she was the lead in numerous serious cases. Prior to working in Crimes Against Persons, Edna worked in an undercover capacity on the Multi-Jurisdictional Narcotics Task Force, where she worked as either the undercover agent or the lead detective on many cases that resulted in the successful prosecution at both the state and federal level. Edna is the coordinator for the Westminster Police Department's Crisis Intervention Team. She's an instructor in many disciplines, including narcotics and sexual assault investigations. In recent years, she has traveled the country presenting a case review of a high-profile serial rapist investigation that was very successful. The case received national attention and has been the subject of many articles, a book, and several television shows. For the team's efforts in this case, Edna was recognized with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce Community Inspiration Award. Edna is a recent graduate of the Federal Bureau of Investigation National Academy Class number 276. Edna is married to her husband Mike, who is a captain at the Golden Police Department. Edna and Mike like to travel and are raising a brood of 4-legged children. I didn't write this. They enjoy spending time with their family and spoiling their numerous nieces and nephews. And I didn't mention it on Mr. Stiles' point, but for every year of service on this particular date, each person receiving a 25-year award gets $100 for every year of service for a check of $2,500. And congratulations.
Thanks. There we go.
Thank you. Mr. Passarelli. How you doing? Start with the heavy ones. I'll keep the light up for you. Save it for somebody else. Is your family here? You're his family?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you doing out there? Come up here. No, they're not. Come on up here. I'm not going to give you the check if you don't come up. Get up here. Yeah, so come on up. This is about you guys too. It's going to be a test for him, but he's got to tell us who you all are.
Do that.
You can do that?
No.
Oh. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Are you?
You can come right here, man.
That's his mother, and I'm his father.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for your service.
I'm an uncle. This is my daughter and my son-in-law.
I got you.
And
Come on in.
my
Make room for
sister.
everybody. How are you? Would you like to start at that end and tell us who you got?
Sure. This is my son Daniel, my dad, my mom, John, my cousin's son, Noah, my girlfriend Stacy, my cousin's husband, my cousin Jason, Renee, and my Uncle Dodie.
Well, thank you guys for coming out and supporting him. Appreciate it. So John Dean Passarelli was hired as a police officer in 1994 and assigned to the patrol in the police department. In 1998, he served as a motor officer in the traffic unit, a field training instructor, a level 3 traffic investigator, and a laser instructor. From 2004 to 2007, Dean was a burglary detective where he was assigned and investigated 296 cases. I don't think he had anything to do. Dean was the lead detective in the lottery ticket burglary case, which was highly publicized as the suspect committed multiple burglaries in 6 cities. In this detective capacity, Dean was also involved in numerous other high-profile burglary cases. In 2007, Dean went back to patrol for 7 months. Then he was selected as a traffic detective in the investigations unit. Dean has investigated 1,253 traffic-related cases ranging from hit-and-run accidents, felony eluding, felony DUIs to vehicular assaults, and vehicular homicides. In addition, he has been an officer survival instructor for 18 years. Dean is a member of the North Metro Technical and Accident Investigation Team. He's also received an L. Javel Shriner's Meritorious Service and Dedication Award, a Chief's Commendation Award, and numerous Teams and Actions Awards during his career. Dean enjoys spending time with family, including his 21-year-old daughter, Talia, 16-year-old son, Daniel. He also enjoys fly fishing and golfing. And I hope you'll enjoy this.
I will.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Come up here. You guys step up. You want to look taller than you are?
He's making you look
come right here. Everybody get in. If you can't see her, she can't see you.
Every face.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mom, thank you very much for having us. He is.
He is.
Okay. Mom swears up and down he was a good boy.
He was.
Mr. Todd Reeves.
Mr. Mayor,
Would you like to introduce this lovely young lady?
this is the better half, Anna Marie.
Anna Marie, thank you for coming tonight.
Of course, she does.
She does. Would you like to hold the heavy stuff?
Not really, but I will.
Okay. Look, this is kind of an ongoing thing. I've been bugging him about showing up for this thing for about a month now. Todd was hired in 1984 and is currently a deputy chief of the patrol division in the police department. During his career in law enforcement, Todd has served in the capacity of patrol officer, traffic officer, narcotics detective, patrol sergeant, special enforcement sergeant, patrol commander, internal affairs commander, traffic commander, and commander of the North Metro Task Force. Todd attended the FBI Academy and proudly graduated with class number 232 and is a graduate of Leadership in Police Organizations, a class designed at West Point. During his career, Todd has been recognized as an expert witness in drug crimes and drug laboratories in both state and federal courts. Todd has been the recipient of a Distinguished Service Medal and the Meritorious Service Medal. Todd's spouse is Anna Marie. They have one daughter, Caitlin, and are the proud grandparents of grandson Braxton. Todd enjoys dogs and volunteers at animal shelters. And I will tell you, he and I and one of our city attorneys spent a lot of time together talking to the mayors of Canada about a year ago when they decided to federalize marijuana. And they wanted to figure out, what did Westminster do with it? How did you deal with it? We still haven't figured it out. Todd, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Spend it well. Thank you.
And your family. How are you? Hi, how are you? It's very nice to meet you. So, Bob, would you introduce your lovely wife?
Yes, this is my lovely wife of 30 years, Carrie.
All right. So today we are celebrating Bob Dowling's service with the City of Westminster, 35 years. Thank you so much for your service. I'm going to read this,
Okay.
and then we'll let you have a few words. Okay. Bob Dowling was hired in 1984 as a police officer and has served in many positions over the past 35 years. His assignments have included patrol officer, field training instructor, motor officer, detective, defensive tactics instructor, SWAT team operator, K-9 unit supervisor, and peer support coordinator. Bob was promoted to the position of police sergeant in 1997 and to police commander in 2007. As a commander, he has had assignments in patrol and traffic and is currently working in the professional services section that includes public information, internal affairs, hiring, and training. Bob has been awarded several Teams in Action awards and numerous commendations for his service to the city. Bob thoroughly enjoys spending time with his wife, Carrie, his daughters, and son-in-law. He enjoys hunting and spending time outdoors. Very nice.
Thank you.
Would you like to share a few words or say anything? This is your spotlight.
Oh, boy. It's amazing how 35 years of service goes by so fast. I remember the day I took the written test, and lots of experiences, through the years. But as any of these other officers can attest, it's truly a privilege to serve our community and to be there with them when they need it.
And we are so privileged to have you serving, so thank you.
Thanks.
I'll give this to you. We get a picture, and I think the two of you should stand together, and how about I get on this
Okay.
side? Not that I want to touch the guns or anything. Congratulations. Congratulations to you too. That's a long time.
Mr. DeMott, if you would, please.
Whoever is here to receive the Proclamation for Constitution Week, join me up front.
Come stand up here with me. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us who you're here with?
I'm Linda Fischel. This is Barb Spriggs. We're from the Front Range chapter of Daughters of the American Revolution. Last week was Constitution Week.
Great. So a couple things. One, I believe strongly enough in this that I carry a pocket constitution around, which I think is really important. I want to read a quote to you. The liberties of our country, the freedom of our civil constitution are worth defending against all hazards, and it is our duty to defend them against all attacks. I would say that's also against the test of time, and so I think it's really important about what you guys do because it's all about keeping our Constitution alive for future generations so people understand how important it is. And I typically don't really read, no offense to staff, but the things they put for the proclamations, but I was reading what Barbara Opie put in here, and I really think it's great, so I'm going to read it to you all. So the background of this was the yearly observance was started by DAR in 1955, and DAR petitioned Congress to set aside September 17th through the 23rd annually to be dedicated in observance of the Constitution Week. The resolution was later adopted by the U.S. Congress and signed into public law number 915, August 2nd, 1956, by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The celebration aims to do the following. 1, emphasize citizens' responsibility for protecting and defending the Constitution, preserving it for prosperity, inform the people that the Constitution is the basis for America's great heritage and the foundation of our way of life. 3, to encourage the study of historical events that led to the framing of the Constitution in September of 1787. The United States of America as a republic under the Constitution, which is the oldest document still in active use that outlines self-government of a people. This landmark idea that men had the inalienable right as individuals to be free and live their lives under their own governance was the impetus of the American Revolution. Today, the Constitution stands as an icon of freedom for people around the world. So I think that's important and good enough to read out loud every year. So I'm going to go ahead and read the Proclamation for Constitution Week. Whereas it is the privilege and duty of the American people to commemorate 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America with appropriate ceremonies and activities, whereas every American shares in this legacy of liberty, and we are grateful for the courage, conviction, and sacrifice of all those who have helped preserve and uphold the principles of a free society, and whereas we remember the enduring importance of the Constitution, we also recognize our responsibility as citizens to respect and defend the values of our founding and participate in the unfolding of the story of freedom. And whereas in celebration of the signing of the Constitution in recognition of Americans who strive to uphold the duties and responsibilities of citizenship, the Congress by joint resolution August 2nd, 1956 requested that the week of September 17th and ending in September 23rd of each year be proclaimed as Constitution Week. Therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week, and to urge all citizens to study the U.S. Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which this privilege involves. Signed this day, the 23rd September 2019, Herb Atchison, Mayor of Westminster. There's that for you. So I really appreciate what you ladies do. So I think she would like to get a photo of us real quick. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Mankey, if you would.
I'm here to present the proclamation for Red Ribbon Week, and I was wondering if we could get Eleanor Scott and Kathy Pasco up here of the Westminster Area Community Awareness Action Team. I'm going to have you guys talk a little bit, but before I just want to read about the history of Red Ribbon Week and where it came from. Red Ribbon Week emerged from the creation of Camarena clubs, which were established in 1985 to honor the memory of drug enforcement agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, who was killed in the line of duty. By wearing red ribbons, Americans demonstrate their ardent support of a healthy, drug-free lifestyle and pay homage to all men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in support of our nation's struggle against drug trafficking and abuse. Maybe let you go ahead then and introduce yourselves and maybe tell us a little bit about Red Ribbon month. I was like, it's both. It's week and month, so I was getting.
I'm Eleanor Scott, and I'm the chairman of Westminster Area CAT, and Kathy Pasco is our secretary on our board. And the city has supported our efforts since 1982. And so there are many things over the years that you've been involved with us. And currently, you are giving prizes for our elementary school poster contest each year so that the children that win can have a family pack to go to one of your recreation facilities. And we also send out letters to the juniors and seniors' parents at prom graduation time, encouraging safe and drug-free celebrations for graduation and prom. And that letter is signed by myself from CAT, the superintendent of Westminster Public Schools, your police chief, and the sheriff of Adams County, and the district attorney of Adams County. So it's an impressive letter that the people receive with those signatures. And so we really thank you for all your support. And I'm going to go out on a limb and also thank you that you still are banning marijuana for legalization.
Thank you so much for all you do, especially for our youth. As the mother of a now high schooler, I'm going to look for that letter and appreciate it very much. Let me go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas alcohol, tobacco, and other drug use by our youth is a threat to the future of our nation, and whereas it is imperative that a unified and visible commitment of prevention efforts by community members be continued to reduce the demand for illegal drugs and illegal use of legal drugs, and whereas the National Family Partnership and the Westminster Area Community Awareness Action Team, or CAT, are sponsoring the national, statewide, and local Red Ribbon campaign, offering citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment toward helping children stay drug-free as they grow up. And whereas this year's national theme, Send a Message, Stay Drug-Free, will headline celebrations in communities across the nation during Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through October 31st, 2019. And whereas Westminster area school students and faculty, business, government, law enforcement, religious institutions, service organizations, youth, health providers, senior citizens, sports teams, and individuals will demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during the campaign. And whereas the City of Westminster is committed to assisting with the success of the Red Ribbon campaign, now therefore I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim October to be Red Ribbon Month and October 23rd through October 31st, 2019 to be Red Ribbon Week in the City of Westminster, and encourage our citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free community.
Thank you.
I'm also going to stay up here for the next one as well. For this, I'm going to have Public Education Officer Sherry Guerrero and Fire Marshal Bob Hose come up. So this is the proclamation designating October as Fire Prevention Month. I'm going to go ahead and first I'll have you tell us a little bit about all the activities going on in Westminster surrounding Fire Prevention Month, and maybe give us a little lesson or two.
So we already started. September 14th was our Station 6 open house, and it was a great success. Starting this Thursday, we also partner up with Operation Save a Life, and that's with NFPA and Home Depot, and they provide smoke alarms and CO alarms to the local fire departments for us to hand out to our residents here in the City of Westminster. Our firefighters will keep them on their trucks, and then we also have a program called the Home Safety Survey Program for older adults, and we will also provide those free to anybody in the City of Westminster that needs a smoke alarm or CO alarm. October 5th, we're going to partner up with Home Depot, and if you have grandkids or kids, you get to build a cool fire truck. So come to that event. October 12th is our Station 4 open house. If you've never been to an open house, you get a ride on one of our fire trucks, or Seagraves fire trucks. You get a cool ride. We have Fight for Life. We have food. We have lots of vendors, and the hospitals partner up with us. Police department partners up with us. Same thing with dispatch. It's a great event, so please come and see your local firefighters. It's a great way to meet them and see them. And then on October 19th, we partner up with the city, and we have our Halloween carnival. It's not carnival, Halloween Harvest Fest. And there's going to be a ton of vendors there and lots of food. And fire prevention, so come and get some information. And this year, theme is not every hero wears a cape. plan and practice your escape. So it's really important for families to make sure that you guys have a home escape plan. It's so important. There's so many families that do not have that. Even if you don't have kids, just make sure you know exactly how to get out of the house safely and know exactly where to meet. It makes it so much easier when the firefighters show up on scene and everybody's out of the home, they're in their meeting place. Firefighters don't have to go in and fight that fire. They can fight that fire from the outside. We don't have a lot of fires anymore in the United States, but we still have them. And it's important to make sure that you know exactly what to do. Check your smoke alarms twice a year. They do have those lithium battery ones that last 10 years, but you still need to test them, replace them every 10 years, and make sure you have a seal alarm in your home.
So much. I was actually here last year when we gave this proclamation. After it, I started asking everyone I saw in my office, if you have a plan for getting out of your house and if you have so it was great. And I was also at the open house for the fire station. If you haven't gone, it's just so much fun and there's so much education, but it's also fun for all ages to see the helicopter and the fire truck and everything. Proud of that. Whereas in 2018, the United States had an estimated 3,655 civilian fire fatalities, approximately 15,200 civilian injuries, and over $25 billion in property loss due to fires. And whereas in 2018, the City of Westminster Fire Department responded to 11,924 emergency alarms, including 59 building fires, and the city had $19,967,701 in building and content loss due to structure fires. And whereas in 2018, the City of Westminster had 3 citizens who died from fire and had 22 citizens injured from fire. And whereas fire prevention should be a concern to every Westminster citizen. And whereas the City of Westminster Fire Department depends on joint commitment and effort involving all citizens as well as firefighters to promote fire safety. And whereas the Westminster Fire Department has established a public education program that works to educate citizens on the hazards of fire and fire safety. And whereas the National 2019 Fire Prevention Week theme, Not Every Hero Wears a Cape, Plan and Practice Your Escape, effectively serves to remind us all of the simple actions we can take to stay safe from fire during Fire Prevention Month and year-round. Now therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, and on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Fire Prevention Month and call upon the people of Westminster to heed the important safety messages of Fire Prevention Month 2019 and to support the many safety activities and efforts of the City of Westminster's Fire
Ms. Scully, if you would, please.
I could have the Inclusivity Board representatives come forward. Hello, hello, how are you?
Good.
Good. Would you introduce yourselves, please?
Bev Bishop. Michelle Zajic.
And you are members of our
Inclusivity Board.
We wish there were more of us here. What does the Inclusivity Board do?
Well, we advise and give suggestions to City Council as to how the city can be more open and inclusive to all people that live in the City of Westminster. And the city actually has done so much in this regard already in terms of their programs, their events, and how they do outreach for those types of activities, as well as things such as doing the citizenship preparation classes. They offer a lot of different programs and publications in multiple languages, and they do so much already for inclusivity and diversity and making people feel welcome in this city, that it's a pleasure and an easy task to be board members of the Inclusivity Board.
So proud to be representatives and residents of this city, because the city is just so welcoming. And in that, Annual Awareness Week for Welcoming Week 2019 was September 13th through 22nd, so we missed it by one day, but we got it on the agenda as soon as we could. Good. Welcoming America encourages member communities to hold events, recognize their commitment to welcoming, and to share our community the benefits of welcoming everyone. The Westminster City Council joined Welcoming America in September of 2016 as part of Welcoming Cities and Counties Initiative. The Welcoming Cities and Counties Initiative asks that municipalities commit to institutionalized strategies, ensuring the ongoing inclusion and long-term economic and social integration of newcomers. Another goal of the initiative is to explore policies and practices that ensure interactions between new and longtime residents remain positive and allow the community's economic vitality to remain strong. This initiative is a celebration of our strategic city plan goal of a vibrant, inclusive, and engaged community. I'm very proud to be the one that gets to do the Welcoming America Proclamation. So I'm going to read it. The City of Westminster, Colorado Proclamation. Whereas the City of Westminster is home to diverse populations, including immigrants, refugees, and other minority groups, and we welcome them in our city. And whereas immigrants comprise a vital part of our local workforce, and whereas we are all members of the Westminster community, regardless of where we are born or what we look like, united in our efforts to build a stronger city. And whereas during the 2019 Welcoming Week of September 13th through 22nd, we honor the spirit of unity that brings neighbors together across Westminster. And whereas Westminster is a part of a movement of communities nationwide, showing our commitment to our core American values and taking action in the spirit of welcoming. And whereas the aforementioned commitment is reflected throughout all levels of the city staff and in the existence of the Inclusivity Board to advise the City Council on issues of common concern to immigrants. And whereas by recognizing the contributions that we all make in order to create a vibrant culture and a growing economy, we make our community more prosperous and more inclusive to all who call it home. And whereas together, let us create a more prosperous community and reaffirm that the City of Westminster stands as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor, the City of Westminster, on behalf of the entire council and staff, do hereby proclaim September 13th through 22nd, 2019, to be Welcoming Week. In the City of Westminster, and call upon the people of Westminster to join together to build stronger connections to our neighbors and fellow community members across the city in the spirit of welcoming. Dated this 23rd day of September 2019, Herb Atchison, Mayor.
If I could get the Youth Advisory Panel members to come up. No, we didn't forget you. No, we didn't.
Sure, this is the Youth Advisory. Oh, yeah.
Just a minute. Tonight we're on welcoming aboard the 2019-2020 Youth Advisory Panel. Now, this group of students, not the same one, but has been in existence for 21 years now. What they do is think about what it is that the students, we have approximately 35 different schools that we touch just from the 8th grade through high school, not counting our elementary. But this group represents most of those schools, and they are in the recruitment process, whether they believe it or not, to increase the panel size from where they are today at about 20 to 35, where our objective is to have one person from every school that we serve in one form or another, whether it's a public school or a charter school. I'll let Maya introduce the group that's here tonight in a minute, but some of the things I would tell you about this group. This particular group has participated in 2 international events in the
the last few months. Several of them accompanied me down to the Denver Regional Council of Governments to interact with a group of their peers about what's going on in their lives at their age groups in the country of Iraq. They spent the better part of a day down there. Then another one, recently the chair, Maya Davis, accompanied me also to meet with the 2009 celebration of the independence of Mexico from Spain. So Maya was there along with myself and a couple of others to represent what we are trying to do as a cultural exchange, not only here in our own city, but of other countries that talk to us. We also have some events coming up with the country of Japan, and we'll be doing some exchanges with them as well. So at this point, Maya, would you like to introduce the group that's here? You need the list.
Yes. I'm Maya. I'm the chairperson, and I go to Legacy High School, and I'm a senior this year.
Good.
I'm Madeline. I go to Holy Family. I'm Kylie Nazarene. I'm a at Pomona High School.
I'm Yuri. I go to Stargate High School, and I'm a 10th grader.
I'm Jack. I go to Monarch, and I'm an 11th grader.
I'm Rachel. I go to Northglen High School. I'm in 11th grade, and I'm the vice chair.
And I'm Kayla Delgado. I'm one of the staff liaisons for the city, and I'm the teen services librarian at College Hill.
Joe LeDuc, I'm also staff liaison, aquatic specialist at the Swimming Fitness.
And Chief, we have one other one. Bella Jacobson is not able to join us tonight. She's one of our school resource officers. She's not available here tonight, but we want to thank all of them. And then I'll try to figure out who gets this later. But whereas the City Council of the City of Westminster believes our youth should share with their community leaders the responsibility of addressing their needs, desires, challenges, and issues in molding their own futures. Whereas the city values its youth and desires to advance and promote their special needs and interests, and therefore created the Westminster Youth Advisory Panel on September 13, 1999. Whereas currently the panel has 20 members appointed to the 2019-2020 school year. Whereas it is important to acknowledge the contributions made by incoming panel members. Now therefore I hereby, as the Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, hereby recognize and extend appreciation to the following incoming Youth Advisory Panel members who are currently serving on the Youth Advisory Panel representing their schools and Westminster youth. Maya Davis, Chair, Legacy Ridge High School, 4th year. Rachel Schoen, Vice Chair and Treasurer, Northglen High School, 2nd year. Jack Smith, Secretary, Monarch High School, 2nd year. Claudia Semchuk, PIO, Standing Lake High School, 4th year. Pauline Semchuk, PIO, Standing Lake High School, 4th year. Riggs Abbott, Jefferson Academy, 1 year. Lake Bowie, Stargate School, 2nd year. Kate Dellett, Mountain Range High School, 1 year. Michelle Escobedo, Northglen High School, 1 year. Yuri Fong, Stargate, 2nd year. Emma Grazaniel, Boston Valley High School, 3rd year. Cohen Haley, Northglen High School, 2nd year. Kinsey Jones, Mountain Range High School, 2nd year. Irving Mendoza, Westminster High School, 5th year. Started with us in 8th grade. He's been with us ever since. Kylie Nazareth, Mona High School, 2nd year. Abby Robinson, Legacy High School, 3rd year. Madeline Rouse, Holy Family High School, 1 year. Catherine Spangler, Standing Lake High School, 1 year. Taya Vieira, Jefferson Academy, 2nd year. And Abby Waller, Legacy High School, 2nd year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the panel that represents you from the youth. Regarding what school they're from makes no difference. As a panel, they are not required to live in the city, or are they required to live in a school that is in the city. So because we are making this on a basis of where we can touch the most students, keep this open so that we can try to get all 35 schools where the kids live here, go to school here, but they're part of our city. Please welcome your 2019-2020 Youth Advisory. Some of you on the back row want to step up. Okay. Very good. One. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
This time we'll move to the item on the agenda called citizen communication. This is a period of time that any citizen, or not necessarily just a resident, can come forward for a period of up to 5 minutes on any item they wish to discuss with the city. There is a time limit. The green light comes on when your time starts. When you have 1 minute left, it goes yellow. When your time is up, it's red. Sheriff Schrader, then you'd like to bring us some glad tidings.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak for just a few minutes. What a great night to be here. A lot of great things. You know you have something special here in Westminster. Of those 135 years of police service that you recognize tonight, I had the privilege of working with 3 of those folks very early in their careers when they worked at the sheriff's office. And certainly they've gone on to do great things here. And you know that you have a great organization throughout the city. I know a little bit about the police department because that's who I work with the most. Public safety is candidly a primary function of government. I know that you know that. The public safety in Jefferson County and thereby Westminster is going to be compromised if ballot issue 1A does not pass this fall. I'm here tonight to advocate for this council as individuals and then also as a council to pass a resolution supporting Jefferson County ballot issue 1A. Ballot issue 1A is a 7-year timeout on property tax revenue, a 7-year timeout on Tabor for property tax revenues only. The functions that I have where I intersect with, in particular, the Westminster Police Department is running the county jail. And I'm proud of some of the things that we have done in the Jefferson County Jail. 2 years ago on November 11th, we opened up a veterans housing unit. A housing unit where people who've served in the military are provided additional programming and additional assistance when they go back into the community. We've also opened up 3 behavioral health units, places where people who are suffering from addictions are provided support and training and therapy in the form of moral recognition therapy that aids them in, again, assimilating back into society. And I'm very proud that we have obtained a nearly $750,000 grant to provide re-entry services to people who are coming back into our communities. The reality is this, is in Jefferson County there are about 12,500 people who are in the criminal justice system. 1,300 of them are in the Jefferson County Jail. And if ballot issue 1A does not pass, I'm going to have to, at the beginning of 2020, close the 7th floor, one of the 5 housing floors in the county jail, in addition to other cuts. And at the beginning of 2021, I'm going to have to close another floor, a net total of 640 beds. That will fundamentally change our society, I'm afraid to say. We need to make sure that we have a resource for our police officers here locally and throughout Jefferson County to lodge somebody when they would do harm against somebody who's in our community. Sometimes people need a timeout. And if we take away that opportunity, both on the front end for a timeout or what I'm going to be required to do in order to achieve that, cut sentences in half under a standing chief judge order, that clearly sends the wrong message about penalty, whether it's a Westminster municipal case or whether it's a state charge that's brought against them. So my strongest urging for each council member is to support ballot issue 1A. Take a look at keepjeffcosafe.com. That is the campaign that I am working on. And I would ask that you encourage people that you have an influence with that live in Jefferson County this November to vote yes on ballot issue 1A. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Terry.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors, for the opportunity to come and kind of give you guys an update from Friends of Stanley Lake. The activities that we're working on to lift the boating ban at the Stanley Lake Recreational Facility. I am a member of the kind of task force subcommittee that does tagging. I think we've got good progress going on. Last few updates that we've given you have all been good progress. Want to continue that until we open the lake back up, hopefully next year. We are working on a final cable option that's going to secure the trailer to the boat and to our locking system. So final cable option is almost here. As soon as that does get here, we'll let the city vet those. We'll have decided on that element of our go forward solution. We are using a no-key lock, which is a really fancy padlock. I never thought you could buy a padlock that costs $300, but you can. Tells you where it's been open with GPS coordinates. It's fantastic technology. We're looking super good on the use of that lock. Done a lot of lock testing with the city and the staff. We have found a software bug in the desktop application, and we have communicated that back to the Nokia company to actually get that fixed. They are giving us a timeline of January of this year when they do their normal software updates. That'll roll in as a fix. I will talk to you in one more second about that. But the lock itself is working flawlessly. The desktop software, they had a bug. It showed up. We had opened a boat in the Baltic Sea somewhere. Obviously, no one was in the Baltic Sea that day. So we have found a little issue there. The lock information in the lock was perfect. Okay, so there would have been no way that someone could have gone and opened somewhere else and had the lock not notice it. So with that, we're also recommending, and I think we'll make this very formal with the task force, a second tagging option. We've got one disposable tag like the tags we were using last year, much more secure and much less possibility that someone can open it and not detect it. So we've got one that's called Secure XP that is in Jason's update that he posted today. So we're going to recommend that we use that no-key lock and the throwaway tags in parallel. That'll layer our system, and then that way we're not quite so dependent on the software update from Nokia. Okay. The timeline here that we've all been talking about, these locks, when we order, this will be the largest lock order that this company's probably ever had. They're in the Utah area. We're going to give them a big order to outfit every boat. As we make that commitment, it's going to take them 90 days to build our locks. Okay? We want to understand that we've got January coming, somewhere 90 days, October, November. We just got to be aware of where that timeline sits. And hopefully we can make, as a tagging subcommittee, a recommendation to the boating task force, which will then feed that up to the city's task force that's working on this issue, that we can actually recommend that we buy the Nokia locks, trust that they're going to get their software fixed and it won't show the Baltic Sea anymore. We'll never see that again. But we need to buy this hardware and get it going so that we can open the lake in the time frame that it normally opens, in that February kind of time frame. So at some point here, I think it's being worked on, but I just wanted to give you guys an update on a few of those things. And we're looking really forward to getting this to a conclusion that's works out good for everybody. Water quality, boaters, Stanley Lake residents, and all of the above. That's the update that I have for you tonight, and appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Calamity?
Hi, my name is Karen Calamity. I've spoken here a few times on various issues that mean something to me. And what means something to me now that I've heard about is the Pillar of Fire property. That's a beautiful, iconic property. And I know it has an ownership, but I also hope that people in Westminster understand that it's one of the most iconic structures and spaces within the whole city. And I hope as things go forward that it's understood that not just the architecture is beautiful and special, but also the fact that there's just so much open space there that just isn't anywhere else available in this location. And it's so special to go past that and feel that openness and not feel the crowdedness that I'm starting to feel in a lot of different locations throughout the city. Westminster is far better than Denver. I'm working with a group in Denver with Loretto Heights, which was built in a similar time frame with the same kind of red sandstone. And actually, I'm working with Sister Mary Nell, who Loretto Heights was, of course, started by a religious group, just like Pillar of Fire. Not just like, but similarly, a religious group started that. And the nuns are quite concerned in that instance because their cemetery is at risk of being taken over, being obliterated. The bodies might have to be moved. Something like that. It's not likely to happen with the Pillar of Fire location, but it has a similar essence to it in that it's a very high space within the city. I went to one of the special days when we went up into the tower and looked around from there, and the people were putting on historic events, and it was just a great time. And I'd hate to see that essence of the space not continue in some way. So I just like to talk about that a little. That's what I had to speak about today.
Mr. Work.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Starting to see you guys a little more regularly now, it feels like. Sorry we weren't here a couple weeks ago. We showed up and saw the mass people for the St. Mart's and figured we'd give you guys a 10-minute break from our conversations. But I'm here for Stanley Lake. Just touching on, Britt pretty much touched everything that we need to touch up on. Just a few current points I wanted to make is the current state A&S program is still working. It's still effective, and there's still currently no zebra mussels in Colorado. Again, we have submitted 2 solutions for tagging. The Secure XP tag is very similar to what we're using, just a lot more upgraded, and that's something that can be ordered 4 to 6 weeks out from now, and something you can kind of get started to get your program started, to get legal and your internal city task force kind of get it going. That lock has not been broken yet by the city. I know no key is the ultimate goal for the city. That's a long ways out, and I think if you work with what works right now, we can implement the no key as it comes closer to being updated, and for everybody to get a meet up here in a few weeks. So if anybody's currently up for re-election or so, we welcome everybody. The voters are all want to know what they can do to help get different or re-elect the same people on council. So that's a thing that we're getting notified almost daily on. That's all I have. Thanks, you guys.
This time, I don't have anyone else that has signed up to speak, but if there's anyone in the audience that has an item they'd like to bring forward, this would be the time to do it. All right, seeing none. Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the last several weeks, at public meetings and through some notifications I've been sent on social media, there's been a lot of concern about a piece of property known as a Pillar of Fire. I've asked Deputy City Manager Jody Andrews to provide something on the record here tonight, which we'll also be posting on our media outlets, because there's clearly a lot of confusion about the status of the Pillar of Fire land that is privately owned land. And I'm going to ask Jody if you wouldn't please give us an update.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp, Mayor and Council. Just a few comments on what's currently called the Uplands development proposal, also, of course, referred to as Pillar of Fire or Rose Hill. The first point of clarification, this is not a city development initiative. This is a proposal from a private development firm for development of private property, and I think it's important to make that distinction because the city does have some other projects that do not fit in this category, but this is strictly a private development proposal. Just a few comments on the proposal. The Uplands development proposal, which is located on the Pillar of Fire property, encompasses 5 parcels of land comprising 230 acres. in the general vicinity of West 84th Avenue and Federal Boulevard. The applications that the city has received include an annexation, comprehensive plan amendments, rezoning, and a preliminary development plan. Official development plans will also be required if the proposal proceeds. The development review process is currently underway. Staff does not have a formal opinion, stance, or recommendation on the proposal at this time. All of these applications noted will require public hearings before Planning Commission and City Council. We do not have dates for hearings scheduled yet. City Council will be acting in a quasi-judicial capacity when considering these applications. Because the applications are currently under review and in process, any communication between City Council and the applicant and interested parties should be avoided. And the City Attorney's Office will be providing additional guidance on those matters if needed. We do intend to post what I've just said on the city's website, and that will provide all of the public with the same information around the status of the proposal that is the city has been asked to review.
So just a final comment, Mayor and Council, it's my pleasure to serve as your city manager. We heard this evening and witnessed recognition of a number of employees of the city. We do this routinely, and I really appreciate you taking time in your council meetings to do so. It means a lot to them and their families. And tonight, I sometimes forget and fail to do this, but I want to thank the families of those folks that are involved for the sacrifice families make to have our employees serve our community, and for all the employees in the room, thank all of you for all you do all the time.
Any comments from council tonight? Ms. Sykes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to acknowledge our staff that received Years of Service awards tonight. We often talk about the fact that one of our most incredible assets here in the city of Westminster is the dedicated, knowledgeable staff that we have. And similar to Dawn Tripp, that's often because they have a very supportive family that's also bought into the service they provide. One of the individuals we recognized was Commander Edna Hendershot. And I have to give her a special recognition. Along with the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, I helped honor her as their Citizen of the Year. When we gave her what we wanted to say about her, she really pushed back and wanted to make sure that we recognized her team. She didn't want for one instance to take any individual credit for teamwork. That's the type of people we employ here, and that's what servant leadership is all about. I want to bring attention to a couple of events that are going on in Westminster over the next few weeks. One is the 100 Years of Libraries. And I don't know if it's because they want to shed the bookworm image, but they are having a Roaring 20s Great Booksby party that is 21 plus. It's going to be jazz music, live jazz music, casino games, cocktails, food, and even a fortune teller. It should be a really fun night for anyone who wants to attend. It's October 12th, and it's from 7 to 10 o'clock. Tickets are available online. I also wanted to mention a very important way to have your input incorporated into all of the different Westminster planning processes. I often say great communities don't happen. They're visioned and they're planned for. Right now, we are doing what's called Westminster Forward, which is 6 different planning processes. We understand plans shouldn't be in a silo, but they should communicate with each other. You can't do land use without looking at water resources or mobility. But lucky for you as residents, we're giving you 2 events that you can come and give input on all of these plans without being tasked with multiple surveys. So on September 26th, from 4 to 7 at City Park Rec Center, there will be a Westminster Forward. It's a drop-in situation, so you don't have to be there the whole 3 hours. Come in, listen, learn, and give your input. And then on October 16th at 4 to 7 at the MAC, which is at 72nd and Irving. So come to one of these and plan on participating. And then finally, I had to say to the chair of the youth advisory panel happens to be my neighbor, and she is just an exemplary young woman who has been a wonderful influence on my kids. So we're lucky to have such young leaders that give back to their community already. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to share about a couple of events that I heard about at the Historical Society meeting, Westminster Historical Society. They have their annual Historic Society 21st annual tea. That's on October 5th from 2 to 4. I know that I was explained to this year that men are welcome too, which I didn't think we were welcome, to be honest. So it was nice to hear that we would be allowed to come to the tea. But I know it's a neat event. My wife and daughter have went to it several times. A lot of people dress up in their to-do outfits from back in the day. And so that's on October 5th from 2 to 4. Adults are $25. If you're a member, it's $20, I believe. And then children 12 and under are $10. So it's a great event, a great opportunity to go celebrate our history. So I encourage people to check that out.
Ms. Scully.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who contributed to the public comment tonight. It's always so good to hear from our residents. Your opinions are very valuable to us, so thank you. Last Thursday, we had the great privilege, all of us on council went to the public safety dinner, and what an exemplary night, chance to honor our public safety personnel, both the fire department and the police department, and what heroes we have right here in our very own city. So proud of them and thank them for all their service. If you happen to see one nearby, please share a thank you, because they do a lot and they give a lot to our city. And then also there was the open house and celebration of England Park. And what a beautiful greenhouse we now have in our city, just improved upon. But also a lovely area that people can rest and enjoy our community. So Westminster is so known for its open space and its parks, and I know that's personally why I love Westminster. So it was so nice to be able to celebrate that. And thank you, staff, for helping us with that.
A couple of reminders on some events that are coming up this weekend. This will be our first weekend to ever have sponsored here in Westminster at the new downtown Oktoberfest. So that will be on Saturday and Sunday. It's from 8 to 9 on Saturday, and I think it's like 8 to 6 on Sunday. So if you enjoy a little oompa, a little beer, bratwurst and sausages and other things, come join us at the downtown. Check the weather forecast. There's no reason not to come out because of weather. The other thing I wanted you to take a moment to update you on is Westminster is becoming nationally recognized, and in that area of workforce housing. And this is just part of the strategic plan for the city. It was my honor this past week to be in Washington, D.C. at the Urban Land Institute conference on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And the largest group I spoke to was about 400 in regards to what we are doing here in Westminster to find affordable housing and to bring it into the city. We have a need of about 3,000 units here today. We have, in some of the areas where we're looking at it, we have a waiting list of over 2,000 people. As fast as we could potentially build it with whatever method we can't build it fast enough. This is not just Westminster, but it's the entire metro area. And what we have to continue to do is work with developers, builders, finance groups, and our state legislatures as well to find more ways to be able to find affordable housing for the people who want to live, work, and play in the cities where they're at today. Because too many of them are being priced out, or they're being priced where they have to drive more than an hour to get to their jobs. As we've talked to Councilor Haney, paying college professors a salary that they can't even live in this city, that's not acceptable. And we've got to find a way to remedy some of this. But I think because Westminster has been recognized as a leader, not only here nationally, but here locally, as one of the leading cities in trying to develop the resources that we need to have places for people to live. And I appreciate the work that this council and the past councils and those that come in the future do to try to provide housing for the people that live and work here. With that, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any other comments, Ms. Scully, Nope. Mr. Demott?
Waiting for the.
Okay, you're waiting for the next one. All right. I'm going to get one item out of the way, and that will be the consent agenda, and then we're going to pause for a couple of minutes. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which has one item on item 8A, which is the financial report for August of 2019. Mr. Demott, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the City Council adopt consent agenda item 8A.
Ms. Gully?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the adoption of the consent agenda, and no member of the council had asked for this to be removed for discussion, so all those in favor, please signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, we will pass that motion, and we will pause for a short bio break. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Mayor,
ma'am,
I beg your pardon. Do you mind if we do a button vote on that to
I'm
display?
sorry?
Do you mind if we do a button vote on that just to display if you don't?
Give me a second. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll just go ahead and do a button vote. And it comes out 7 again. Good.
Thank you.
Ms. Parker, you ready? You guys ready? All right. Elected records show it's approximately 8:16. The council has reconvened. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, move on to resignations and appointments. We have none tonight. City council events consent agenda is done. Moving on to the next item of business is item 10A, Councilor's Bill number 36. Ms. Sainz.
Thank you. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 36 on first reading, authorizing the issuance of water and wastewater utility enterprise revenue bonds in a par amount not to exceed $102 million.
Ms. Manking?
Thank you. I second.
Okay. Mr. Tripp?
Mayor and members of council, this is a very significant action we're asking you to take tonight, and it comes to you after literally years of planning and deliberation. And I know you're very familiar with the background here tonight, but I think it would be a good idea, and Councilor DeMott apparently agreed with me, that we provide a little more background. And I'd like to ask Public Works and Utility Director Max Kirschbaum to come up, and if you would just give an outline on the record of what this project is and why we're asking you for this action this evening.
I think the question was specifically to talk a little bit about the projects that are behind the $102 million debt issuance that you have previously approved that is before you this evening. A majority of these funds would be earmarked for two primary initiatives, one of those being projects related to and part of Water 2025, of which we are already a couple of contracts into that work through site selection. We are presently in a contract and study to select the process and to purchase the pilot plant that will be used. Those are some of the initial steps. The other main initiative that this debt would be used for is the Big Dry Creek Interceptor Sewer improvements, of which we earlier this spring we completed the pre-design on that work. It is now under a final design contract, but we would anticipate that a significant portion of these funds would go toward the construction piece of the Big Dry Creek Interceptor Sewer. There are a couple other projects that fall within that $102 million. Maybe most notable to point out to you would be a payment that will be due by an agreement that's already in place with the city for $7 million for the acceptance of what will become a downstream reservoir for us in Wattenberg that is currently with aggregate industries being finished up. The mining operation aspect of that will take that over as a downstream reservoir. Those are three examples of some very significant projects. Another one that is on that list that will be coming to you within the next month, we are very excited, will be the high service pump station that serves our potable water. It's located in the vicinity of Semper Water Treatment Facility. That is a long-term facility that will be with us for another generation. That project would also be funded with these debt proceeds.
This is a multi-generational commitment. This is in front of you. I think you have the opportunity and the responsibility to review these. We appreciate the feedback we've gotten over a period of time. Just in my tenure, that's involved 3 city councils that have looked at this, and there were multiple councils before that that were involved in the master planning of the infrastructure replacement program. I want to also emphasize that this is a natural sort of a evolution in replacement and maintenance of the current system. It's not an investment that has become necessary because of anything other than aging infrastructure and the need to reinvest and to make certain that we continue to have the high quality of water. I think we point this out in part, too, because the city spun in the 1950s on the quality of its water. There were public policy actions taken at that time for the city to build Stanley Lake Reservoir and to become our own independent entity in terms of providing fresh drinking water, potable water in our city, and also for handling our own sanitary and storm sewer in the city. It was a really critical action that was taken that set us on a course of the excellence that we have today. I want to compliment our superior staff of engineers and equipment operators, maintenance personnel, professional staff, and supportive staff in public works and utilities, and then all the supporting people from Dave's end of the table in legal to finance and all the parts of the organization that support this utility. So it's really an honor here to be here this evening on what I think is a momentous occasion. You don't build a water treatment plant very often and replace a sewer as we're doing here today. And you know, we're able to bring it to you with confidence that the rates that you put in place will help us pay these bonds off.
Any comments, Max?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Demont?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Kirschbaum and Mr. Tripp. I think it's important that the public understand exactly what this is. It's a big chunk of money and a long-term investment, as well as obligation for the taxpayers as well as the city. So I think it's important. We haven't always agreed on exactly how we're funding things, but I think everybody on this council very much cares about having good, clean, safe drinking water and a good infrastructure to deliver it. So I appreciate that you gave that explanation and look forward to seeing how this goes about and how it benefits our residents.
Thank you.
Other comments by council? Ms. Sykes?
I had intended to say a few words about this. I think City Manager Don Tripp did a great job of capturing how big of an issue, big of a deal this is. It has been an absolute honor and privilege to make the type of decision like this, which is investing in our community's future. I don't think you can put a price tag on public health and safety, but this shows that it's a significant investment to do the right thing, not just for today, but for future generations. So again, thank you to all the staff that helped with this. Thank you to the community. I know this has been a source of contention, but it really is because we need to invest in our own future.
Any other comments from council? All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
DeMott.
Yes.
Haney. Yes. Mankey.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Volz.
Yes.
And the motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is resolution number 19. Mr. DeMont.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 19, authorizing city manager to sign a purchase and sale agreement with Community Resource and Housing Development Corporation for 3621 West 73rd Avenue for the purchase of approximately 0.42 acres of land and commercial building with a total building area of 5,888 square feet in substantially the same form as presented to council.
Ms. Scully?
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any question or discussion from council? Seeing none, Ms. Parker, this is a roll call, please.
DeMott.
Yes.
Haney. Yes. Mankey.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Volz.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. And the motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
If I could make a comment about the action that you've taken here this evening. This is the purchase of a property in historic Westminster. It really addresses two issues that we need to address in our community. One is a space issue that we've grown into because the city, in meeting the needs of the future, has grown, and we've outgrown having enough space here in City Hall and our other facilities to provide office space. The second need that we're addressing here is a presence in historic Westminster. For the first time ever, we're going to have a permanent office in this location, in the historic part of our city along 73rd Avenue and our historic Old Main Street that is there, and I think it's significant. It is the Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Department that will be occupying a part of this space that we've just acquired. There is other space available, and I can't say for certain what will happen with that, but we're looking towards the future of having a presence in that community. So I thank you for your action on this evening. It allows us to take care of a couple of really important issues that you've had in your strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. Next item is item 10C. This is resolution number 20. Mr. Volz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 20, authorizing the city manager to sign an amendment to the purchase and sale agreement with Westminster Hotels, LLC for Lot 5B, Westminster Promenade East, third replat in substantially the same form as presented to council.
Ms. Scully.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments by council? Seeing none, Ms. Parker, back to you.
Haney. Yes. Menke.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Scully.
Yes.
Volz.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Demott.
Yes.
And the motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is item 10D. Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Colorado Intergovernmental Risk Sharing Agency for the purchase of high-deductible stop-loss insurance for claims management and other administrative services in the amount of $715,929 and a 10% contingency of $71,593 in the event the final quote comes in higher, for a total authorized expenditure not to exceed $787,522.
Ms. Seitz.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, this is a vote with your lights, please. And the motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is item 10E. Ms. Menke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize the city manager to execute amendments for the custodial service contracts with KG Clean Incorporated and Carnation Building Services Incorporated, increasing the base contract from $708,151 to $776,808, plus a 10% contingency in the amount of $77,681, for a total authorized expenditure not to exceed $854,489. The contracts will be for a one-year period beginning October 1st, 2019, renewable for up to 2 additional one-year periods, subject to annual appropriations, with renewal adjustments not to exceed 3%, negotiated annually and agreed to by the city and each contractor.
Ms. Scully.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item 10E? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, again, with your lights, please. And the motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item is item 10F. Ms. Haney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move, based on the recommendation of the city manager, to find that in the public interest will be best served by ratifying the negotiated sole source expenditure with Advanced Fiber Response, Inc. for fiber installation to the city's disaster recovery site in an amount not to exceed $77,305 in 2019.
Mr. Demott.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 10F? Seeing none, please vote with your lights. The motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item is item G1, 10G1. Mr. Demott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize the reallocation of $400,000 from the water parket account and $170,000 from $170,000 water pressure improvement ongoing modeling account into the Water 2025 project.
Mr. Volz.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on item 10G1. Any comments or questions from council? Not, let's just vote with your light, please. And this motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Mr. DeMott, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move based on the recommendation of the city manager to determine that the public interest will be best served by authorizing the sole source purchase agreement with Intuit Tech, Inc. for a pilot plant system in the amount of $620,000 for a total authorized expenditure of $620,000.
Mr. Vols.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, is there any further discussion on item 10G2? Seeing none, this is a vote with your lights as well. This motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item up is item 10H. Ms. Mankey.
Thank you. I move to authorize the city manager to sign the third amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the Urban Drainage and Flood Control District for the Big Dry Creek Drainage and Flood Control Project improvements located in Jefferson County, increasing the city's contribution by $600,000, bringing the total authorized amount from $300,000 to $900,000.
Ms. Sight.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, this is also a vote with your light. Motion passes on a 7-0 vote. Next item on the agenda is item 11A. This is Council's Bill number 27, second reading. Ms. Scully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 27 on second reading to approve the comprehensive plan amendment for the subject property, which consists of 3 contiguous properties in the Hollyhurst subdivision. This amendment would change the designation for A, an approximately 6-acre property from mixed use to R36 residential, B, an approximately 1.69-acre property from mixed use to retail commercial, and C, an approximately 3.07-acre property from retail commercial to public quasi-public.
Ms. Sykes?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item by council? Mr. Vols?
Yeah, I just want to say briefly, I will be voting against this again. We've had a lot of discussion on this, so I want to thank everyone for their input. It was very valuable for all the participation received, all the staff work. I just cannot vote for R36, residential 36. I think that's too dense, and I think the traffic is still an issue there, so I will be voting no. But I very strongly support affordable housing and workforce housing throughout Westminster. I wanted to just reiterate that. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Is that a roll call?
It is.
I thought it was. All right, Ms. Parker, a roll call vote, please.
You bet. Mankey?
Yes.
Sights?
Yes.
Scully?
Yes.
Vols?
No.
Atchison?
Yes.
DeMott?
No.
Haney?
Yes.
And the motion passes on a 5-2 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business that we have here at the dais. We do have a couple of post-meeting items, so the council will take a short break, and then we'll see everyone in the boardroom. And for those of you in the audience, thank you very much for coming tonight.